Hello everyone and welcome back to my dream world. So I've finally circled back to rewatching each Ninjago season, and I want to say, I know this season is a hot topic for the majority of the fandom, but we have finally gotten around to discussing the ever polarizing Skybound. Seriously, people either love or absolutely despise this season, and I feel like I'm the only one that doesn't fit in either of these categories. Needless to say, I probably have some very hot takes about this season in every direction, so I'm looking forward to diving right into it. So if you aren't familiar with my nostalgia trip videos, I discuss the strengths and weaknesses of the season, my highlights of the season, my comparison to the previous seasons that we've already covered, and we'll end with how my opinion has changed since I initially watched the season, mind you, 10 years ago. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So, I don't feel like I can talk about the strengths of this season without mentioning Nautigon. I think his introduction was fantastic. If you watched my Tournament of Elements video, you know that I wasn't the biggest fan of Klaus, but the way that Nautigon made an absolute fool out of him with no issues was insane. I forgot how intense that was. It's very quickly established that he's a very threatening villain, both physically and intellectually. He twists people's wishes and traumatizes people. It's deviously brilliant. I only have one major complaint about Nautigon.
Ew.
He's weird. Yeah. We'll just say weird for the sake of keeping this PG. But yeah, fantastic villain. Definitely really intimidating towards the entire cast. Great dynamics with his crew, which I will get into in a minute. But yeah, I mean, that is one of the, I think most people agree. Some people do complain about him, but most people agree that he is one of the highlights of this season. Then we've got just the side characters in general. I mean, of course, we have the entire crew of Nautigon, who are all really fun individually. I mean, I could do a whole video just on them, but for the sake of this video, I'm not going to do that. I also think that Soto was great when Jay brings in a group of other side characters during the penultimate episode of this season. They're all fantastic. I think that speaks to strong writing. I know some people don't like the writing of this season, but I think in terms of entertainment and side characters and including them when needed, not drawing any of them too out, not leaving any of them too inaccessible, I don't know. But I just really think the way the side characters were done this season was great. Speaking into that, the dynamics were great. Within the main team, within Nauticon's crew, when the crew meets the ninja and they clash, especially with Jay and his dynamics with Nauticon's crew. And dynamics were super fantastic throughout this season. I really think that that's what makes it so entertaining, even though there are some weaknesses I'm going to complain about. But, I feel like that, like, in terms of viewing, like, the ability to watch a season without getting bored, you really need to have great dynamics. And there's one thing about this season that I can't call it. It's not boring. So I really have to give props to the dynamics. I loved how we get some kind of underrated relationships throughout this season. I mean, we have different ninja interacting with each other. Like, it's not just the typical ones. Of course, there's focus on Jaya, which I'm going to get into, but we also have, like, Lloyd and Nia, and we have Cole and Jay, and we have Kai and Zane. Like, it's gave us variety and a lot of fun moments between a lot of different pairings and groups. So props to the dynamics. Of course, I just mentioned Jaya. Why did I cry when they made that dragon together? I cried when Nia died too, especially when Jay started crying. Like, we don't have to get into that. Y'all know, like, if you've seen my reactions, you know that I get emotional easily. But, yeah, Jaya, yes, I'll get into this in a little bit. I had a few issues with the writing earlier in this season, but, like, as we get into the meat of this season, the Jay and Nia dynamic becomes more and more enjoyable. We kind of see this journey that's been set up since the pilots finally come together, and I think it just pays off really well. I know, like, I have complained about the writing of this season and of Jay and Nia, but I think it really just, like, this is where Jaya starts to be good. And at the end of the day, yes, I'm a Pixane stan, but Jaya is definitely my second favorite couple. So it's just really like, it's just like, finally we have that payoff. I do have my critiques about Jaya earlier in the season that I'll get into, but I think the payoff is worth a mention of the highlights of this season. And then, of course, we have Jay. This is Jay's season, quite literally, because the only other seasons we have that really highlight Jay, in my opinion, are Prime Empire and, spoiler alert, Dragons Rising Season 3. So this was really the first season where we got to focus on Jay, and I think it was really, really well done. We got to see his craftiness, which I feel like isn't implemented always in his character. Like, in the fandom, he's considered kind of the goofy, silly one that doesn't always take things seriously, sometimes even an airhead. But in the pilots, he was placed as the quirky but still competent inventor, and we get to see his craftiness in this season. We get to see how he deals with Nanakon's crew, how he flies solo, and I think that just made him so much more interesting. The way he's able to get everyone on his side eventually, it's even after screwing up big time in multiple different ways, is awesome. He has so much mental endurance in this season. And yeah, he screwed up. Like I said, he screwed up multiple times, but he was the only one who didn't succumb to Nanakon completely, even after making 2 wishes. He never ended up wishing it all away like everyone else did. So that majorly speaks to his endurance, his craftiness, cleverness, even though that isn't always showcased. And yes, it is quite comedic watching him he gets a little bit of humbling about through the first half of this season, and a lot of it is deserved, but we see him grow because of it. And I just really, like, spoiler alert, but Jay was definitely my number 1 this season. I mean, come on, how could it not be? How could he not be? But yeah, those are the major strengths that I saw in this season. I will mention some small things I love, and people have pointed this out before, but the intro being in the order that they got taken out, that was brilliant. That's a really, but it's like, yeah, it's just like such subtle foreshadowing, because if you're seeing this season for the first time, you'd never really notice it, but then as you rewatch, you're like, oh my gosh, they kind of ate with that. And of course, the score, I mean, I really highlighted this in Possession, but I think it kind of leads into this. I mean, the music in Ninjago slaps in general, but we get a lot of really, really cool new score tracks here, and I think that is so important, especially because, like, Sky Pirates, like, we haven't done that yet. How do you make a score that's unique? Because we've heard pirate scores all the time, but they made it work here. They made it so unique, and I really, really, really appreciate it. I trade all the gold that we have reaped. So now we are going to get in some weaknesses and complaints of this season. So I'll get the small things out of the way. Clancy, please stop triggering my emetophobia. You triggered it when I was a kid, and you're triggering it now, and I don't appreciate it. So can you please just, like, get some scopolamine patches or something, because that's what I did. And I know some of y'all are Dareth stans. I do not care. Dareth was insufferable for the majority of this season, and I did not like him. Like, this is one of the seasons that really makes me dislike Dareth. I'm sorry. Like, but I'm gonna stand on that opinion. He was sexist and annoying, and I didn't like him. And he did kind of redeem himself in episode 9, but still, no. If you're annoying for the majority of the season, it's gonna be a negative for me. But as for the stuff that I will really be critiquing, I do not love the premiere, and I do not love, just in general, the first act of this season. And I think, unfortunately, that's why it's not one of my favorite seasons. I feel like at the beginning, there's just a lot of inconsistencies. It made a lot of characters very annoying. Nia has definitely been a little bit of the girl boss trope, but I really hated that she kind of just became unreasonable. She literally goes back on something that she says not 5 minutes later. I genuinely do believe that on the ninja side of things, the intro could have been much stronger. I would have preferred seeing how Nanakon was able to capture Wu, which is totally off screen and not explained, and thus it would have been a little bit less anticlimactic. Like, it ended up being anticlimactic. And then that would make his scene with Misako much more interesting later. I think that it would have been a lot more interesting if they used the screen time of some of the premiere and throughout the next 3 episodes, and I'll mention what I would take out. But I think that we really could have used some screen time to develop Nadakon and his crew even more. They're already great, but with more development, I think they could have even been better. Because, like, does anyone really think about Doubloon that much? Even Dogshank? I want to learn about Monkey Wrench. Like, I know they had those little shorts eventually, but I think, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to link them a little bit here just so you kind of get a visual. They did have these shorts introducing Nadakon's crew. I think that needed to be in the season. I don't think that should have been separate. And I think that they could have put this in, like how Nadakon retrieves each one of them using the Realm Crystal individually. And that would have just made his crew dynamic even more stronger. Because even when they're, I think I kind of messed up my grammar there. Haha, don't mind me, I'm ranting. But like when we talk about like falling in love with the team, it can happen with villains too. I mean, we love villain crews in other shows too. And I think this villain crew could have been even stronger with more screen time. And as for what I would take out to give them that screen time, it would be, you might have guessed it, the prison arc. I have always hated this arc, and no, it's not just because there are protagonists. Like, they even had proof that Zane was innocent thanks to his records and alibi. That should always be taken into consideration, and realistically, Cole shouldn't have been able to be captured all the way. I also thought that the way they were captured was really underwhelming and silly. Basically, I just think that this arc was unnecessary, and it wasn't executed well either, especially since it didn't really have that much of a lasting effect after the initial escape, which happens in less than the episodes. Yeah, it was just weird. It took up both too much and not enough of the season at the same time. Like, either it had to be longer or scrapped completely to work. And the only thing that we'd kind of miss is if we take out the entire Captain Soto thing, but I do think there would have been a way to make this happen alongside with the team getting split up without the prison arc. Because, like, I don't know, they could have visited the prison for some reason, and then we meet Soto there. And he gives them information about Nadakon in exchange for being released from prison or something like that. I think I remember somebody mentioning that in another comment. And I have to say, I think that would have been far more interesting because, this prison arc just does not work for me. As much as I don't like Crystallized, which I will get into later, that prison arc worked much better than the one in this series. And it's just very jarring. Like, I mean, I guess it is kind of a reflection of reality of how, like, once you're in the limelight, it can be taken away very, very quickly. But the ninja have already been known. Like, why are we only now getting this insane fan base? I guess this is when the fan base really started popping, so they decided to put it in the show. That's, like, the only reason I can see why, like, it went from so crazy to them, like, immediately going to jail and being scorned. Like, it was just weird. I feel like it needed to be either set up better or scrapped. So, yeah, I don't love, and that makes the first 3 episodes of this season a slug for me to watch, unfortunately. And the last thing that I'll mention as for weaknesses, because I've ranted too far, or too long at this point, but Nia's writing for the majority of the season is not great, which is kind of annoying to me because she's the deuteragonist of this season. It really, for me, it took until about episode 7 for me to be like, that's the Nia I want to see. And that's a shame because after her being fantastic in season 5, I was super excited to see more of her character both back then and now. I forgot that I really did not care for Nia's writing in this season. I've already mentioned she is very inconsistent, contradicts herself a lot, and I don't know, because, like, she's never, like, yes, she's always been the type to be like, I can handle myself, I am very capable of doing so, but that kind of stuff worked better in season 1. This time, like, sweetie, you can't do air jitsu. Like, that, and that sucks, but it's like, come on, like, you've never been unreasonable about that. So it's just about things like that. Like, she should have just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, the way she was portrayed, and also the way she was reduced to being the girl ninja at the beginning. Like, yes, that is an interesting arc to be explored, but I feel like it wasn't really explored enough. Like, it's like the prison arc. They either needed to scrap it or actually go deep into it instead of popping it in and then just kind of forgetting that it existed. So, yeah, it was kind of, I just felt very inconsistent about Nia's character this season, which, like I said, sucks. But once we get to episode 7, it's great. And we get some really, really great Jaya content. So I don't hate Nia this season, I promise, but it's just, it took me a while to really, like, be fully behind the way her character was written this time. One thing I want to mention before I get into overall opinions of this season, and this isn't a category that I usually include, but I completely forgot that they introduced the mechanic this early in the series. I totally forgot. For some reason, I decided that he was introduced in Prime Empire, but no. This, like, he was introduced way back then, and I completely blanked about that. Like, this, I think, is the first time I actually blanked about something that becomes pretty prevalent later in the series. So we're kind of getting to the point where I maybe don't remember things as well as I thought that I did. So it was kind of cool for me to go, oh my gosh, I actually forgot that that happened, because most of this, I remember it. But yeah, that was kind of a slap in the face for me. Whoops. But yeah, overall, my opinion, I know I was pretty critical of it for the last few minutes, but basically, the first few episodes are not my favorite, especially when it comes to the prison arc. I think both Nanakon's side and the ninja's side could have been set up better, but it gets a lot better after that. There are a few plot holes that are kind of annoying and make this season's writing weaker, but in terms of entertainment, I think it's a great one. I really, really do. It's still not my favorite season because I feel like if it's a slug for me to get through a pretty big section of the season, then I can't put it as a top tier season. And I do feel like I am much more critical of this season than some of its hardcore fans are, but really, I do believe, even with all of that aside, that this season has rightfully earned its place in the golden age of Ninjago alongside Tournament of Elements and Possession. Had the first act been a tad bit stronger, it would be top tier for me. But I will discuss where it actually places for me a little bit later. Really, I've always loved this season. Like, as a kid, I did enjoy this season. I always lumped it in with season 4 and 5 as some of the most fun seasons, but it's never been a favorite of mine. So I do feel like I'm kind of in the minority because people either, like, go hard for this season, like they love this season, or they absolutely despise this season. I'm kind of like, it's good, I enjoy it, but the writing sucks in some places. So and I feel like either side will jump on me if I say that, so I'm just gonna get it off my chest here. I totally respect both opinions, so please respect mine. But yes, as for my highlights, and this is what I do after each season review, I kind of pick my favorite and least favorite episodes, any pleasant surprises I might have had, and then I rank the 6 main ninja, 1 through 6, and average them out to see how things are going as we rewatch this entire series, which I don't have much time to do so, but I'm kind of hoping to do it by the end of Dragon's Rising Season 3 so we can get it all caught up. But yeah, as for my highlights, I mean, my favorite episode has got to be Operation Land Ho, because I feel like that's where Jay at this point is writing solo, and he takes charge. I mean, he really, really does. He has great moments with his parents, and yes, he's adopted, but at the end of the day, these are his parents. These are the people that raised him. These are the people that call him son. These are the people that he calls mom and dad. They are his parents. If y'all want, I can do a whole adoption episode on Jay because I'm adopted. So that's something that I can get into if y'all are interested. In fact, I probably will. But all that aside, I really love that this was an episode for Jay to really shine and put together a crew of his own and really make up a plan, because like he's never really been considered the leader of the team, but here he kind of has to be, because he's the last ninja standing, and he's the one that ends up actually saving the rest of them and preparing them to face off against Nauticon for the finale, since this is the episode before the finale. So yeah, that one's got to be my favorite. Least favorite, Public Enemy #1. I already said I'm not a huge fan of the prison arc. And I think my least favorite episode is the one where they get captured, just because, I just feel like that could have been filled with something so much more interesting. But yeah, it really, any of the first 3 episodes could be in this slot, but I really gotta go with Public Enemy #1, episode 2. It's just not my favorite. It was my least favorite to watch, per se. Now, I didn't really have anything standing out as a pleasant surprise or better than I remember, but I guess I'll say episode 4, because I thought going into this season that I disliked episode 4 the most for some reason. I think I just decided, I just remember not caring for that episode, but after rewatching it, I actually really enjoyed it. Like, yes, it still kind of is the tail end of the prison arc, but I actually found myself, episode 4 is where I started enjoying the season, period. So I was like, okay, maybe this episode wasn't as bad as I remembered, minus the vom. Yeah, we can erase that, Clancy. Sorry. If y'all haven't watched my videos, you might not know, but I'm emetophobic, and if there's vomit, I will die a little bit on the inside. But besides that, I enjoyed episode 4, so I'm gonna give it its flowers. It's not my favorite episode of the season, but I definitely enjoyed it more than I remember. Now, here is what we've all been waiting for, the ranking of the ninja this season and only this season. We're gonna average them out after I finish ranking them. So, in last place, we have Kai. Dang, from first to last place. Wow, because he's been first and he's been top 3 every single season. That's crazy, until now. And no hate, genuinely, I don't think that he was poorly written, but he is the first ninja to get captured by Nauticon, and thus he just has the least screen time, and in the first few episodes, he's kind of back to his cocky season 1 self. And that, actually even worse than his season 1 self in terms of cockiness, especially when it comes to the fans and everything at the beginning, where they're now action heroes, not just heroes. So yeah, I just can't justify putting Kai over anyone else, and that kind of makes me sad, because Kai is one of my favorites, but this just wasn't his season. I know a lot of people think Kai's character sucked from season 6 to Dragons Rising. I don't know if I agree with that. I'm gonna have to rewatch the rest of the series, but I do feel like this is where Kai's character stops being as consistent and prevalent. So yeah, unfortunately he got 6th place here. In 5th place, we have Zane. Again, he gets cut quite earlier than the rest of the ninja, so it's just kind of hard to justify putting him above anyone else. But he did have that crazy chest scene, and I know a lot of, there are mixed feelings about this scene. A lot of people hate that he got taken out like that, but I thought it was kind of, the tension was pretty high there, because at first, Nauticon almost seems intimidated, because he can't twist Zane's words, but then he does find that loophole in that second wish, and everything starts going downhill real quick once Pixel gets threatened. So, simply because of that scene, Zane is slightly above Kai. He also had some sassy moments that I enjoyed in this season, so maybe that's why he's getting a slightly higher rating. But at the end of the day, this just wasn't a season that highlighted him, so that landed him 5th place. In 4th place, we have Lloyd. He was good. He had some fun moments, but he just wasn't, he was kind of just there. And this is also, all love to Jillian Michaels, Lloyd's voice actor from seasons 1 through 7, but this is when it starts to get a little weird that his voice is, he still sounds like he's 10, even though he's supposed to be a little bit older now, and he's supposed to, when he turns into old Lloyd, which was funny, stupid but funny, and also the voice just didn't match, and it was He has some kind of, like, cute and funny moments, but he just didn't, I don't feel like he had as much of an impact on this season as he has in other seasons, so he gets 4th place. And then in 3rd place, we have Nia. I wanted to put her in 2nd place just because she is the deuteragonist of this season, but the crappy writing inconsistencies dropped her to 3rd place because it just kind of drove me nuts, honestly, which is annoying because she should be in 2nd place. Like, she really should objectively, but I just found myself getting annoyed with her character more often than I wanted to, which is why she's in 3rd. And then in 2nd place, we have Cole. I thought Cole was great this season. I thought he was the right balance of humor, the right balance of reason, and we saw his loyalty, but also his ability to kind of put his foot down and check Jay when he had to, but, you know, still be there for him as a friend at the end. Yeah, Cole was just super fun this season. He didn't have as much development, but I thought that the dynamics that he had were great, and he just, you know, he's my favorite, so I might be a little bit biased, but yeah, I felt like he worked really well this season. I know some people might argue that I should have put Nia above him, but she just ticked me off too much at the beginning and kind of throughout this season for me to put her in 2nd place, while Cole kind of just made me happy even though he didn't have as much development. So that's my reasoning for that. And number 1, come on, it's Jay. Come on, this was his season, and one of the best, because I'm somebody who definitely prefers team-based seasons, like possession and tournament of elements, but come on, this is one of the best solo seasons in terms of, like, a real focus season on one ninja, and Jay really shined for me. So he gets the number 1 spot by far. Like, there was no question about it. So as for the average ranking of the ninja, we have a tie for 2nd place. So it's going to be out of 5 places. Nia currently is still in last place with a 4.66 out of 6. I don't know. Average. I hate that she's still so low, but she's slowly but surely moving up, because for me, she really becomes more enjoyable after season 7, because I have some thoughts about season 7 that I will get into when I rewatch it. But yeah, Nia, she's closing that gap. I think she's gonna move up after a few more seasons, but you know, her average isn't as low as it used to be, but she still is in 5th place. In 4th place is Jay with a 4.0 average, so average 4th place throughout the seasons. Jay closed that gap. Actually, the gap between him and 3rd or 4th place, depending on how you want to count it, was much, much bigger before Skybound, but unfortunately, it was not enough for him to move up on the average ranking. So he still is kind of in 4th, or I guess 5th place if we don't count the tie. And then in 3rd place, we have Lloyd with a 3.8 average. Honestly, this feels about right. His writing, like, you know, I haven't had him in 1st place yet. The only 2 that haven't, oh, actually, I lied. Only Kai, Zane, and Jay have received a number 1 from me. Which is a little surprising because y'all know Cole is my favorite, but it's just kind of like in these earlier seasons, I feel like different ninjas shined, which is probably why Zane was my original favorite, and then kind of like dipped off, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But Lloyd, he's kind of been middle ground for me. Like, he's a solid character, but he hasn't really shined yet for me. Like, he's had shining moments, but he hasn't had shining arcs and seasons for me yet. At least not since season 2. And so him being kind of stuck in the middle feels about right to me. And then for 2nd place, we have a tie between Zane and Cole, my 2 proclaimed favorites, until I guess, you know, the stats don't lie. But yeah, Cole has now tied with Zane with a 2.8 average. Zane has definitely been less consistent. He was my, like, number 1 in the first 3 seasons, but then he got 4th place and kind of 5th place. Like, you know, Cole has, you know, kind of actually had a little bit more consistency. I loved him in season 1, season 4, season 5, and season 6, but I didn't care for him in season 2, and especially not in season 3. So, you know, I feel like if it wasn't for season 3, Cole would definitely be higher. But, because of that, they have tied because, their averages have fluctuated a little bit. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how this changes as the seasons go on. And unfortunately, Zayn's writing definitely goes downhill after a few more seasons. So not happy about that. But y'all will see kind of how my opinions fall together now. And then in number 1, we still have Kai. Until now, he has been top 3 every single season, and he was first place back to back with seasons 4 and 5. Ooh, sorry, I just dropped my charger. I don't know if you heard that. But yeah, that 6th place from Skybound definitely dropped his average a lot because he's at a 2.66 average, which is not that much higher than Zayn and Cole's. However, he's still in first place by a smidge, so that just kind of shows to how strong his character was. Even that 6th place didn't dip him from first place. So currently, Kai is my favorite, or at least in terms of writing, my highest rated ninja. So that is kind of interesting. So as for my season ranking so far, okay, I know this is, I do have hot takes, I guess. I don't know actually how hot these takes are, but I know if you're a Skybound fan, your claws are going to come out. I still hold seasons 4 and 5 above season 6. I think I've always felt that way, but even after this rewatch, it is a problem for me when there is a pretty big chunk of the season that I'm not a huge fan of. But yeah, season 3 is still in last place. It's the messiest and the weakest in terms of writing. It has some good action scenes. It is important to note that I don't dislike any of the seasons that I've watched so far. That may change next season. But, yeah, season 3 is in 6th place. It's just, the writing is just not there for me. Like, if we take out the finale, I feel like this season would just be remembered as a mess rather than the season that made everybody cry during the finale. But yeah, and then in 5th place we have season 2, the filler, man. Come on. Like, the filler, we do, like, a lot of Ninjago fans even don't like the second half of the season. Personally, I do, but I just feel like if the filler had been tied in better, this could be a stronger season, but it just wasn't really done that way, and I don't like the way Garmadon was written in the first half. So season 2 is in 5th place, second to last. And then in 4th place I have Skybound, because I find the other 3 seasons that I haven't named yet a little bit stronger. But yeah, I still love Skybound, y'all. Like, this was hard. The only 2 that I found, like, not as great as the other were season 2 and 3. So that I don't know if that's just my hot take. But yeah, Skybound still have a lot of love for this season, but with the weak beginning, I can't rate it higher than the other 3. However, like I said, I think this might have been number 1 or number 2 had it had a stronger first act. But that's just my opinion. I know that, like, I'm one of the few people that actually has Skybound rated kind of in the middle. So I don't know how y'all feel. This is how I feel. And then in 3rd place, I have season 1. I find that still to be the most consistent season so far, but I feel that season 5 and season 4 respectively have higher highs, are more rewatchable, and more engaging. So that's just me. I have season 4 a smidge higher than season 5 because I just find it more rewatchable. But yeah, really, I do have love for all of these seasons. The only one I kind of don't love is Rebooted. And even then, I have a soft spot for that season. So yeah, no hate to any of them. So to close this off, honestly, this is the first season where I did seem to forget a lot that happened. But even with that, my opinion hasn't changed. I still really like this season. I just have more critiques to it than a lot of Ninjago fans actually do. I didn't love the first part of the season, but afterwards, it was really enjoyable. I had a lot of fun watching it, and I might skip the first 3 episodes if I ever rewatch this season, but it's still a fun one to always visit back. So next will be our last nostalgia trip episode of Ninjago, since it'll be the end of the original era, which is crazy. Obviously, I'm still gonna rewatch Sons of Garmadon and beyond, but I don't feel like it will really necessarily be a nostalgia trip anymore, because now we're getting into the territory where I was in high school and it's less than 10 years ago from when they came out. So yeah, we'll have one more nostalgia trip episode of Hands of Time season 7. If y'all really love these videos, then I will consider doing them, but I just want to really binge and rewatch everything. I'll still take notes and then do a final big season, like a big series review once Dragons Rising season 3 is fully released. So that is how I feel for now. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to comment down below. All I ask is that you be kind and keep things civil. I'm totally fine with you disagreeing. I really feel like we don't need any more negativity in this world right now. So let's try to keep it positive in the comments. So I will see you all. I am going to start pumping out different types of content from now, just because I am a working person now. I am no longer a student. So yeah, I'm going to try to upload consistently, but just know that I'm always working on something. It just might not come out as fast as anyone would like it to, but I'm still here and ready to talk about my favorite shows. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you did, and I will see you all for my next video. Bye!